let's start the fourth chapter, which is on physical layer connectivities. So chapter 4, module 4, they call it sometimes module 4. It has some topics. So the purpose of this physical layer characteristics, what are the cables or wireless media. We will see this media. So what is the purpose of physical layer? The physical layer is the interconnection. Actually, physically devices are interconnected through this physical layer interconnection devices. So we have what we call network interface cards in PC or other cards in switches or routers. So these cards has to be interconnected through some means physically. So the physical interconnections are important in this. So last time, what we have seen is data is zeros and ones. So the zeros and ones have to be transmitted from one point to another point, or from the sender to the receiver, in the form of either electrical signal, light, or some electromagnetic waves. So they have to be converted into such forms. So the data link or the physical layer is critical for such kind of interconnection. So data is just the zeros and ones. So these zeros and ones have to be actually transported from one point to the another point in the form of some electrical or light or some electromagnetic waves. So the physical layer, its characteristics, it has some characteristics. Physically, most of the time, in the OSI layer, it goes up to half of the data link. Some protocols, they go actually up to the MAC layer. So there are a lot of protocols on this physical layer. So they go from the physical up to the data link, or up to the MAC layer. Sometimes we call it the MAC layer. So from that half of the MAC layer, it goes to the software based, but hardware based, you can see from the physical layer up to the data link. You can implement it in physical devices, or what we call hardwares. But above that, you have to implement it in software. Normally, it is implemented in software. So physical components, we have what we call the physical layers. Standards, physical components, we have got what we call physically. You can have wires, this UTP wires, or these components have to take some signal. But in what form is that signal transmitted from one point to another point? You need what we call encoding. You have to convert it into some kind of encode, and from that you need some kind of either modulation or some signal conversion, so that it will be convenient for transmitting or for transporting from one point to another. So physical components are physical components, and you need encoding and then signaling, which is most of the time modulation or some form of data conversion or signal representations. So encoding is actually the zeros and ones have to be represented in some form. In communications, we call it some signal representations. You can have non-return to zero, or return to zero, or Manchester coding. So the zero is represented by some signal representation. For example, in this you can see the zero is represented by one half of the cycle is 1, and the other half is 0, which is called actual Manchester. This is Manchester 4, and the 1 is the first half is 0, and then the second half of the signal bit is 1. So you can have different forms of encoding. There are a lot of encoding techniques, but Manchester is very common because it has actually noise prevention techniques and some needs. So in signaling, what type of signal are we going to transmit? For example, if it is zeros and ones, it has to be converted into some form of convenient for that medium. So You may have digital modulation techniques, analog modulation techniques, especially if it is wireless. You need to modulate it or convert it into convenient means for transmission. So we have what you call bandwidth. Bandwidth in physical connectivity. Bandwidth is how many bits you are going to transmit through that media. So some cables can support some data bits. So you can say it is commonly bits per second. So kilobits per second, megabits, gigabits per second. How many bits per second are actually being transmitted from one point to another point? Just the bandwidth. And some special terms, for example, latency is the time taking or how much time the data is taking from one point to another point. It is called latency. And we have another throughput and goodput. Throughput is the transfer rate, which is actually bits per second, but it includes everything, the signaling and some headers. But we have got what you call goodput, which is the important part of the data, the real data rate, which is actually the important data. Is called goodput. These are terms. So in we have what we call cable characteristics. So cables, commonly we use actually this Ethernet cables for transmission. So these cables may have some characteristics. There could be some interference, electromagnetic interference, radio frequency interference in these cables. If it is fiber, you can have different types of interferences in the cables, in the fiber optic cables. So you have different types of cables. We have what we call UTP. UTP is unshielded, actually unshielded, like this. If it is clear, I will show you actually after this is UTP, unshielded twisted pair. So we have how many cables? 8 cables. So 4 pairs, 8 wires for interconnection. And shielded is the shielded one. If you have some shielding mechanism for actually preventing some noise, you can have shielded. And the coaxial cable is the common for TV communications. We use it in receivers and antenna dishes. From the antenna dish to the receiver, we use coaxial cables. These cables can be used for transmitting actual signal data, or what we call in networking. It is possible to transmit data through these cables also. These cables. So unshielded, we have these wires can be actually twisted for in interference protection purpose. So each pair is twisted. It has its unique colors. It can be orange, some green, blue, and brown. So these browns, solid brown and white striped brown. You have solid blue and striped blue. They have to be twisted. For what? For protecting actually interference among the cables. In between these cables, there could it protects some interference. Shielded, you see number 2, in this number 2, if you see in the image number 2, it is a metal for shielding, protecting the inside the wire, so that noise from outside can be actually protected or shielded from entering to this internal cables. We have what we call coaxial cable. Is common in if you see coaxial cable in TV. It has the positive, number 4 is the positive one, and some cladding and some what you call protection sponge, plastic sponges for protection, for separation, actual separation. This is a ground mesh of wires, and this is the cover, black cover. Yeah, I hope you know that coaxial cable is for dish or TV interconnection, but that one can be used for data communication also. As I have told you, this is common in the developed country. For example, in Europe, I have seen cables for data communication. UTP, as I have told you, UTP has 4 pairs of cables. I will show you this UTP. So the center is just for protection. So different colors are here. So in this you can have crosstalks. Crosstalk is an interference, but you can, if it is twisted, to avoid such crosstalks, it is possible. And there could be electromagnetic interference, radio interference also in this, because this is wire. Actually, wires have some disadvantages. UTP cabling, we have different standards: category 3, Cat 3, Cat 5, Cat 6. Nowadays we have also Cat 7, but Cat 3 and Cat 5 are commonly used for telephone purpose. Cat 6 and above is for data communication. So you see, we have the connectors RJ45 and RJ45 socket and RJ45 connectors. I think it is good if this is the RJ45 connector, and this is the Cat 6 cable, and we have what we call RJ45 sockets. Sometimes they call it keystones for what do you call female sockets. In wall outlets you can find it, the female keystones, or sometimes they call it keystone, but it is the female RJ45 connector. So what you do is, when you want to crimp or connect this RJ45 connector, so what you do is you just cut this cable in equal size. It has to be cut in equal size. So what you do is you just put some color coding for interconnection. So that color code, it may start. There are two types of standards, but that standard is for standardization purpose. You may use, you can put in sequence in this connection, and the same thing, if you repeat the same thing on the other side of that cable, you will have a straight through connection, no problem. But it is good to follow standards, and color coding is important. So what are the color coding? The color 55 and the cables, and proper interconnection is, it has to be, you see, proper in terminating of UTP cables. That one is improper. You see some remaining wires, and that is very bad, because when you actually, there is motion of some movement, it can be, some wires can be broken. So it's not recommended. So what you have to do is you just push that one until you cover actually the what do you call, hold this up to this jacket. I will show you that one in this. So you have different types of coloring: T568A and T568B. If in one side of the cable you use T568A and the other side T568B, you will have what you call crossover cable. You see, the first two pairs are green, yellow, strip yellow, and then blue, striped blue, and yellow here, and then you have brown, striped brown, and brown. And in the B side, what is changed? You see, the orange and the green are interchanged. That means you have got a crossover. So when somebody talks at the other side, the other one has to listen. You see, so the two pairs have to be for sending, and the other two pairs are for receiving. So if you have devices, old device or PC computers, nowadays the computers are also doing some smart tasks. They use automedics. Automedics means they know that if that device is transmitting in the two wires, and the other one has to listen on that side. So if both devices are communicating or sending on the same wire, there would be an interference. So they have to actually arrange that one. So in the old days, you have to follow, if you want to communicate, for example, to connect two computers, you have to use crossover crossover cable. Otherwise, the computers cannot actually communicate, because the wires, two wires are used for transmitting and the other two for receiving. So if the one side of the computer is using the two wires for transmitting, the other computer has to be in the listening part of the wires. Otherwise, there will be, if both device or computers are actually communicating or sending on the same wire, there would be what they call interference. So to avoid that, what they did was they have actually invented what you call autobidex. If one device is communicating on the two wires, the other device will actually start listening on that wire, and the other two wires will be for sending the other in one of the pieces, and the other piece also receive it on that wire. So what we are going to see now is how do we crimp or interconnect these ones. So either we have to use T568A or T568B. If you want a straight through, both sides should be A, both sides of this, for example, Y. If you want a straight through interconnection. If you want a crossover, the other side has to be A and the other one has to be also B to have a crossover connection. So you see, it is straight through, both sides has to be A or B. If it is crossover, the other side has to be A, the other end has to be B. And the rollover, which is actual Cisco preparatory connection, which is console actual for console interconnections, it uses its own interconnection for what you call console interconnection. So what we do is, you see, we have colors. If I want, for example, the A side, A session, what I have is, the first one is blue strip. Blue, is it blue? Green. I think it is green. Green strip, green, and then orange stripped, and blue stripped, and then orange without strip, and then you have got brown stripped, and brown solid. Yes. So what I have to do is I have to arrange in this way. My wire has to be arranged in this way. So let me see it. So what I have to do is I have to find the green. The green stripped green has to be in the first side, then green, then orange stripped. I have to find orange stripped. It is somewhere here. Orange stripped, then brown solid. Is it brown? No. Blue. Sorry, blue. This is blue. That one is brown. These two are brown. So this is blue solid, and then blue stripped, and then I have to have orange stripped, orange solid, orange stripped, then orange solid, then brown stripped, and then brown. So what I have to do is I have to arrange it like this. Then I have got what you call this is a crimper. So I have to make these lines equal size, and then I have to cut. Yes, it's very sharp. You have to be careful. So what I do is I have arranged it in that color, and then just put this one inside this RJ45 connector. See? So after that, I have to crimp it. Crimping is the first hole, from this side. So there are two holes. That one is for RJ11. RJ11 is for telephone purpose actually. So I have to push this one, insert inside this. You see, inserted inside this, and then just push it. It will be crimped. After that, it cannot actually, the wires will be secure in that RJ45. So you will have RJ45. It's very simple. You can see videos actually in YouTube, and then what you need is this crimper only. Crimper. This crimper or crimper. We call it crimper. Crimping for crimping purpose. Okay. So fiber is another interconnection. Fiber is fast, but it's expensive, and it doesn't have many of the attenuation problems of the wire like this wire. There is no electromagnetic interference, radio interference, but you have to use LED or laser sources, and it can be expensive, but it is very handy, very nice. So we have got two types of fiber: single mode and multi-mode. Single mode is they use a single light for transmitting data. Single light. There is no reflection in the cladding, and it's very tiny, and they have to use laser sources for single mode actually. But this goes a very long distance in kilometers actually with that. But this cable cannot go more than 100 meters. If it is more than 100 meters, it just drops the signal and it cannot communicate. And the other is multi-mode. You have to use different lights, different light rays, and they have to actually refract inside the core, and it uses LED for this one. This is very cheap and cheaper than the single mode, but that one goes to less distance. It goes up to maybe 550 meters. This one goes up to kilometers, long distance communication. The single mode can go for long distance communication. So fiber is actually for enterprise networks, fiber to the home. Nowadays in Ethiopia also we have had fiber to the home, long haul networks, and submarine in the sea. In the sea, we actually use the what you call the cable from Kenya to in the ocean to, I don't know, somewhere to Arab or somewhere, because the intercontinents are connected through fiber, submarine cable networks. And we have interconnection connectors for fiber. There are ST connectors, SC connectors. ST connectors are old, I think. Nowadays you cannot find ST. LC are very common. LC connectors, duplex, multi-LC connectors. But you see that cable, one cable is used for transmission and the other cable is used for reception. So you need two cables in fiber. Two cables. And there are different patch cords in fiber. The interconnection, their name is from their connector type. SC, the other side is SC, the other side, the one side is SC, the other side also is SC. LC, LC, and you can have different types of cable interconnection. And fiber is superior to UTP, what we call cables. One thing, it can go up to 100 gigabits of data, and it can go higher distance. There is it is immune to some noise like electromagnetic interference, no electrical hazards. But you have to be careful. You should not put that cable into your eyes while the other side is transmitting, because it may damage your eyes, because that light from a laser or LED can damage your eyes. It's not recommended. Okay, wireless is the other media. Wireless, as you know, you know Wi-Fi. We use Wi-Fi. It covers some area, but there could be some interference, electromagnetic interference, and there is also security problem, because if you are transmitting wirelessly, anybody can receive. If he is intelligent, the other guy, the end device can actually decode your signal. So wireless has some security problem. It is shared media actually. If the media is shared, so anybody, even the hackers can intercept it. If they are good enough, they can hack your system. your system. So there are different types of wireless communications. Wi-Fi, IEEE 102.11 is Wi-Fi. We use Wi-Fi mainly. Bluetooth, you use Bluetooth for interconnecting small devices. WiMAX is another long distance communication actually. It can go up to kilometers. Or WiMAX is like cellular networks. ZigBee is another, similar to Wi-Fi. ZigBee is another. Nowadays it is being used for IoT appliance, for Internet of Things interconnections. And wireless LAN, you know what is wireless access point, and you need NIC also, wireless NIC adapters. PCs normally, computers do not have wireless cards, but laptops commonly have wireless NIC adapters. So if you need some NIC adapter for your computer, you have to buy USB type, flash type NIC adapters, wireless adapters. You can, by the way, you can make your PC or wireless receiver. You can enable your PC to receive in wireless mode. I think I'm done.